As we celebrate the commemoration of All Saints, let us reflect upon our church teaching on purgatory, the church suffering. Purgatory is an often misunderstood doctrine of our church. What is purgatory? It is the place where to go to be punished for our sins. Is it God's way of getting us back for the wrong we have done? Is it the result of God's anger? None of these questions really answer the questions of purgatory. Purgatory is nothing other than the burning and purifying love of our God in our lives. When someone dies in God's grace, they are most likely not 100% converted and perfect in every way. Even the greatest of all saints most often would have some imperfection left in their lives. Purgatory is nothing other than that final purification of all remaining attachment to sin in our lives. By analogy, imagine that you had a cup of 100% pure water, pure H2O. This cup will represent heaven. Now imagine that you want to add to that cup of water, but all you have is water that is 99% pure. This will represent the holy person who dies with just some slight attachment to sin. If you add that water to your cup, then the cup will now have at least some impurities in the water as it mixes together. The problem is that heaven, the original cup of 100% H2O, cannot contain any impurities. Heaven, in this case, cannot have even slightest attachment to sin in it. Therefore, if this new water, the 99% of pure water, is to be added to the cup, it must first be purified even of that last 1% of impurities, attachment to sin. This is ideally done while we are on earth. This is the process of getting holy. But if we die with any attachment, then we simply say that the process of entering into the final and full vision of God in heaven will purify us of any remaining attachment to sin. All may already be forgiven, but we may not have detached from those things forgiven. Purgatory is the process after death of burning out the last of our attachments so that we can enter heaven 100% freed of everything to do with the sin. If, for example, we still have a bad habit of rude, of sarcastic, even those tendencies and habits must be purged. How does this happen? We do not know. We only know it does, but we also know it's the result of God's infinite love that frees us of these attachments. Is it painful? Most likely. But it's painful in the sense that letting go of any disordered attachment is painful. It's hard to break a bad habit. It's even painful in the process. But the end result of true freedom is worth any pain we may have experienced. So yes, purgatory is painful, but it's a sort of sweet pain that we need, and it produces the end result of a person 100% in union with God. Now, since we are talking about the communion of saints, we also want to make sure, understand that those going through this final purification are still in communion with God, with those members of the church on earth, with those in heaven. For example, we are called to pray for those in purgatory. Our prayers are effective. God uses those prayers, which are acts of our love, as instruments of His grace of purification. He allows us and initiates us to participate in their final purification by our prayers and sacrifices. This forges a bond of union with them. And no doubt the saints in heaven especially offer prayers for those in this final purification as they wait full communion with them in heaven. It is a glorious thought and a joy to see how God has orchestrated this entire process for the ultimate purpose of the Holy Communion to which we are called. Lord, I pray for those souls going through their final purification in purgatory. Please pour forth your mercy upon them so that they may be freed of all attachment to sin and thus be prepared to see your face to face. Jesus, I trust in you. Purgatory is, according to the belief of some Christians, mostly Catholics, an intermediate state after physical death for expiatory purification. There is disagreement among Christians whether such a state exists. Some forms of Western Christianity, particularly with Protestantism, deny its existence. Other strands of Western Christianity see purgatory as a place, perhaps filled with fire. Some concepts of Gehenna in Judaism are similar to that of purgatory. The word purgatory has come to refer to a wide range of historical and modern conceptions of post-mortem suffering short of everlasting damnation. The word is also used in a non-specific sense to mean any place or condition of suffering or torment, especially one that is temporary. The Catholic Church holds that all who die in God's grace and friendship but still imperfectly purified undergo the process of purification which the Church calls the purgatory, so as to achieve the holiness necessary to enter the joy of heaven. It bases its teaching also on the practice of praying for the dead, in use within the church ever since the church began and mentioned in the Deuteronomical book 2, Maccabees 12:46. According to the Jacques Legolf, the conception of purgatory as a physical place came into existence in Western Europe towards the end of the 12th century. According to him, the conception involves the idea of purgatorial fire, which suggests is purgatory and purifying, not punitive like a hell fire. At the Second Council of Lyon in 1247, strong Eastern Orthodox opposition to the idea of the third place in the afterlife containing fire was one of the differences that prevented reunification with the Catholic Church. The Council's teaching on purgatory made no mention of these notions, which are absent also in the declarations by the Councils of Florence and Trent, at which especially the Catholic Church formulated its doctrine on purgatory. Pope John Paul II and Benedict XVI have declared that the term does not indicate a place but a condition of existence. The Church of England, Mother Church of Anglican Communion, officially denounces what it calls the Romish doctrine concerning purgatory. But the Eastern Orthodox Church, Oriental Orthodox churches, and elements of Anglican, Lutheran, and Methodist traditions hold that for some there is cleansing after death and pray for the dead. The Reformed churches teach that the departed are delivered from their sins through the process of glorification. Rabbinical Judaism also believes in the possibility of after-death purification and may even use the word purgatory to describe the similar rabbinical concept, possibility of after-death purification. And may even use the word purgatory to describe the similar rabbinical concept of Gehenna, though Gehenna is also sometimes described as most similar to the hell or Hades.